Thank you, Diana, for introducing me. And thank you, Diana, for inspiring me to actually dress nicely today, because I met her yesterday and she said we should dress up. So there it is. Thank you so much for attending. So my talk is Beyond Tech Talks, making the most out of an event. So hopefully you guys will have a better idea what to do for this event and future events in terms of tech and conferences after my presentation. So this is me. I am Emily. I am actually still a student in undergrad, and I study electrical engineering at University of Toronto, and my side gig, aka my minor, is biomedical engineering. Apart from me being a nerd for engineering, I also do open source contribution for CNCF projects, so like Cloud Native Computing Foundation, and my current projects are Prometheus, CNCF Glossary, and eBPF. But I do more of the technical document side, and I only do technical actual like code contribution for Prometheus. So that's me. I would love to know a little bit more about you. So if you could please scan the QR code, I will put up a Slido just to get to know you a little bit better. Alternatively, if the QR code doesn't work, you can put in the code. Just go to slido.com and put in the code like right on the bottom. If you can see my cursor, it's here. So that'll be good. I will give it like 30 more seconds, and then I will launch the Slido. So right now, you will not see any active interactions because I haven't started it yet. So I'll switch that panel in like a minute. Okay, do we all have the QR code? No, okay, we all good? I see like a couple more people scanning. So are we, okay, we're good? Great, so let me exit out of this and go to Slido so that you guys can see things. So where are you traveling from? I mean, I am almost local to Toronto. I just take a train and come here, but I know people have flown here, so I would love to know. Okay, wow, a lot of Montreal, a lot of Ottawa. Okay. Ooh. Oh, who's from Mississauga? I'm from Mississauga. I just didn't know. Oh, hello, I'm from Mississauga. Yeah. I hope you drove instead of taking the triple transit system, but it is what it is. I mean, to be fair, I shouldn't be complaining. Someone landed this morning from like Montreal, so yeah. Just east of mighty Don River. I don't know where Don River is. I should brush up on my geography. Yay, okay. So thank you for hearing here. So we're mostly from around here, relatively, and then there's a few like from Paris and New York and Cincinnati. Okay, awesome. I don't see newer responses rolling in. So let's stop this and go to the next question. So how many years of experience do you have in cloud native? I'm asking this because I have very little experience. In my opinion, I still consider myself a beginner, so I just want to see who am I talking to. And I'm talking to experts. Hi, thank you for coming. That makes me so nervous. No, kind of. I'm nervous to begin with, so it would have made a huge difference anyway. So yeah. Thank you. It's so humbling to see people who are experts like listening to me, a beginner, talk. It really boosts my confidence. Okay, yay. So mostly I'm talking to experts. There are like a good portion of beginners here too. So if you're a beginner and a student like me here, I hope you find this helpful because there are things I'm going to talk about that I wish I knew 2 years ago. Thank you for answering the question. And the last one, just more related to my talk, is what do you expect to get out of an event or a conference? Would it be like learning about new software, new technology, networking, making friends, kind of thing like that? Yeah, I would say the same thing too. Of course, networking, learning, yeah. Connection. So, okay, mostly like talking to people, like networking learning, and then we have sharing experiences and more networking. Free swag. I love free swag. Who wrote that? Yes. Okay. that's what I love to hear. Also free food. I don't know about you, but conference food are the best food. But also because I don't cook, so that's the difference. Canadian technologies. Vendor socks. Oh my god. I love vendor socks. Anyway. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. Also, I could talk about this all day, but we have to get the rest of the talk done. So thank you for humoring me. I think I have a better idea of who I'm talking to. And let's go back to my presentation. So because I already mentioned earlier, I am a student and I don't have that much experience. This is more geared towards like beginners and students. But regardless, I hope you find the next 20 minutes of my talk entertaining. Hi, Kunal. So here is the agenda for today. First, I will talk about actually how to navigate tech talks because they are the bulk of any conference after all. We have the schedule and we have the speakers and whatever. And then we'll move to beyond tech talks. So the things I would recommend you do when you're not listening in a room and listening to a presentation. And then finally, overcoming imposter syndrome as a beginner and someone from like a marginalized community. So let's start with the tech talks. Yeah, this is the schedule of the not most recently updated one because I made the slides like a few days ago. And this is like half of the slides because like the sessions because I couldn't fit them all on the same screen. And you could tell they're like packed and they're concurrent sessions, like the one that I'm like hovering over right now. And my first conference, which was KubeCon 2 years ago in North America, like North America 2021, that was like overwhelming because it was more packed than this, and this is what I felt like. I was like jumping between, I was literally the toad getting chased by the schedule because I was jumping between sessions and trying to make it to all of them, thinking that if I don't attend all of the sessions, I am missing out, which could not be untrue. And this is what I would have done instead. So say that I read the schedule and I am interested in attending this session. I would recommend myself to click it open before I actually just go to the room. And then right away, I can see that it is introductory, which means it would be a good one to attend for a beginner like me. I still am. But then there's more to it than just the introductory because you could be the I don't know this field at all in like beginner, or I'm in between beginner and intermediate kind of beginner. So I would read the event description and see what technology is being used and talked about. So in this case, it's Kubernetes, and something specific to Kubernetes or cloud native is clusters. I hope we all know what Kubernetes is. Considering that we're mostly experts here, yes, but when I attended my first talk, I didn't know. So at this point is where I would go search up what Kubernetes and what a cluster is. So I did that, and this is the description of Kubernetes from their official website. It reads, Kubernetes, also as K8, is an open source system for automating deployment, scaling, and management of containerized applications. How much of this sentence would make sense to me or you or anyone interested in going to the talk? If you were to ask me 2 years ago, not very much because I only learned what deployment is two months before my actual like attending a conference. Scaling means to me scorching on a piece of clay to stick it on another piece of clay so that it sticks better. But if that's what it means to me and not the actual scaling of applications, I don't think I'll get very much out of that talk. And finally, containerized applications. A container is a Tupperware to me, not an actual like container in terms of a software application. So if I wasn't able to answer those 3 questions and I go to this talk, which is happening later today, I would be confused. So just by any chance that if you don't really know what these 3 things are in detail, I recommend you search it up right now. I won't be offended if you go on your phone right now to search this up because that means you're getting something out of my talk. So basically, in summary, what I'm saying is if you want to go to a tech talk, I think it's worthwhile to do some research before you actually go there, just like how you would do pre-lecture readings or pre-lab assignments in school. And I say that because I'm still in school. But this is not school, so I feel like that is not entirely necessary if you don't do that or don't even go to tech talks at all. And this is where we go to the beyond tech talks. So if you don't feel like listening because you don't feel like doing all the things I just said, you can go talk to people. And I think the people that I benefited the most talking to are sponsors, because they usually come with like concrete examples and demos, so that not only are you going to learn about the emerging technologies in this field, but also it's a good way to visualize things. I'm a visual learner, therefore being able to see something on an image versus like a bunch of commands and words help. And here are these sponsors that we have here today. I think they're just literally outside of this hall right now. And once I finish talking, I'm going to talk to them. I hope to see you guys there as well. And then apart from sponsors, I think it's a good idea to talk to fellow speakers as well, because since they're already giving a talk on a certain topic, you already know they're at least somewhat knowledgeable and passionate about the topic that they're talking about. So if that's like interesting to you, that's going to be an interesting conversation and a good conversation starter point. And finally, I think connecting with fellow attendees is often overlooked because you're trying to find mentors and expand your network so that you can leverage them. But fellow attendees are great people to talk to and meet as well, because not only are they like-minded peers, you could probably want to collaborate them. Because if you recall, the conference schedule are very, very packed, and there are many concurrent events going on. So if you want to go to 2 that happens at the same time, you can team up with someone, go to one, and then the other person goes to the other one, and then you can exchange information. So that's like efficiency. But that's networking, and that's where you don't want to listen, but you want to talk. But what if you don't even want to talk because you're like overloaded with information? That's where you start outputting things down. And this is like a great thing for me because I can't multitask. Like, I legitimately cannot talk and think and process and remember at the same time. So I have to like do one thing at a time. And then if you don't feel like receiving new information because you're overloaded, you have to write things down to offload your brain. It's like your memory is at capacity. So what I usually do at conferences is that I fill out my networking tracking sheet. And this is an excerpt, a literal screenshot from my spreadsheet. And the columns are name, topic, the last communicated date, outcome, and next steps. This is from when I went to KubeCon Shanghai like a few months ago, and I talked to someone whose name I covered about contributing to Prometheus. And I told myself to reach out via email after KubeCon, which I did on October 2nd. And once I received a reply from them, I put it in the outcomes column. And it turns out this time, he told me to join a community page and join 2 Slack channels. And considering that I'm still contributing to Prometheus, I think this was effective. So that is when you don't want to listen, don't want to talk, and you can write things down. But if you don't feel like even writing things down, you just want to veg, I think that's when you're burning out. To avoid you becoming like a SpongeBob, this is what you should do. It's time to take a break. Out of curiosity, who consider themselves introverts? Yay, most of the room. Welcome to the tech world, bros. Who are extroverts here or think they're extroverts? Wow, we have less than 10. I am not surprised. I am very much of an introvert because I know that because I feel like I have a social battery. And I think the most distinguishing feature between introverts and extroverts is how you get your energy. Like, introverts need to charge alone, and extroverts get energy from talking to introverts. So maybe it's like the battery draining. Like, they take all of our, not hating extroverts, but my social battery is what fuels you and drains me. So if you're an introvert like me, please do take breaks, because they are just as important as being engaged in conversation to avoid being burnt out. And I suggest that you take your breaks as far away from the event venue as possible, because just like how your computer lags and you're like, let's restart. That's what you do. You gotta restart your body so that you can come back fresh as new and processing really fast. And what's more important is that you have to not let your intrusive thoughts like get to you. Like, if I'm not in the event venue, I might think to myself like, oh no, I'm wasting my time. Like, I have one day to do a conference. What am I doing to take a 30-minute break outside of venue? I could have talked to people. Like, no, you're not. You're not gonna process anything. So that's taking breaks. And speaking of toxic thoughts, another result of that is the imposter syndrome thing. And I think in the previous panel, we already talked about a little bit of imposter syndrome and being in a marginalized community, and just want to touch a little bit more about that. So take me, for example. When I was attending my first ever conference as a 20-year-old Asian female who's not very tall and know nothing about the field because I didn't know cloud native was a thing like 2 months before I attended my first KubeCon. It was daunting to me, okay? And like this cloud, like I was surrounded by the smartest people in the field with the best technologies, and I was like, what does it mean? What's a container? Not a Tupperware. And it just felt like a brick wall to me. I was like, I will never make a dent into this field. But considering that I am still talking here 2 years later today, I did something. And here's what I did. I became involved with a few projects. I made some contributions, attended some more events because of those contributions, and I kept repeating the process until I feel like I belong. Sometimes I still don't feel like I belong, but we live and we learn. So I did the networking thing I talked about earlier about talking to sponsors and speakers, and they introduced me to a few projects that are interesting to me, and then I familiarized myself with those projects and started picking up issues. But obviously, it wasn't a smooth sail. Like I wasn't like, oh, let's solve this issue, and I made a pull request and I got merged. I got stuck so many times. So if you're in my shoes, I suggest to you that if you know the project because of a connection you made at a conference, that would be a great time to follow up, just to make the connection a little bit stronger. Otherwise, it's really nice that most cloud native and Cube-related projects are open source, which means they usually have community calls to onboard new members. So if you don't really have a dedicated mentor to help you on issues, go to those community calls. They are good networking opportunities as well. So I did that, and I made my few contributions, and basically I proved to myself with my name next to a PR that got merged that I have concrete evidence that I belong here because I literally contributed to projects, and that's how I overcame imposter syndrome. And one cool thing about doing open source contribution that's not related to imposter syndrome, but I would like to touch base, is that you find the best mentors. Because they are willing to help you, and seeing you grow, I feel like makes them feel like they're good as well. I've been told. I'm not making this up. I've been told. I'm not a mentor yet myself because I am still learning, but that's what I've heard. And I feel like they provided me with a lot of valuable advice, such as the next steps I should take, the next issues I would want to pick up, new projects that I should work on, upcoming events related to what I'm working on, and even career advice. And speaking of mentors, Kunal's my mentor, and I hid this slide from him purposefully because I didn't want him to see it beforehand. I have no idea where he is though. So he is my mentor. I met him 2 years ago at a fellowship, and he is the best mentor for guiding me through Cloud Native. So yeah, I owe him my thanks, and as well as the organizers for providing me with the opportunity to give this talk, because it is my first time, and providing me so much support with answering my questions and making this happen. And thank you all for coming and listening to my talk.